It is right for me. I love it. But no, it's been fascinating, and it's so great to talk to other writers about writing, and that you know that you're not alone in this crazy profession that we've chosen.
Totally. So we meet up occasionally, we get marks, we check in. And so I John checked in with me about his rebrand. So I've gotten to see the behind the scenes, but tell everybody, I think this is a good lesson for like anyone who's not feeling who's like trying to figure out what they are doing on the platform, like excuse me, like what is my brand? What am I supposed to be writing about? And so tell people how you found the
Well,
Gen X
I
niche.
think like a lot of things in life, it was not. I didn't. There was no goal. I wasn't trying to find it. It kind of happened, and then I just realized, oh wait, this is something. There's something here, but I didn't. There was no like sort of plan behind it. Of course, I always wanted to have more subscribers on Substack. I think we all do. But every time I would do a post, me, I would get maybe like 4 likes, and and I
Uh-huh.
would be like, well, was that really worth it? To spend all that time on that article, and it's like I got 4 likes, and like, and to be perfectly candid, like. I've been most of my career, knock on wood, I've been paid to write. I mean, that's kind of what I do for a living, right? So to write for free and then not even get that much response seemed crazy. But I was doing that anyway because I just, I was able to write about things that I normally couldn't write about or couldn't find an audience. I couldn't find a publication that would publish it, and maybe. But there was an article that came out about, I don't know, almost a year ago now. The New York Times wrote about why Gen X is like this like failed generation and like why we're struggling now. They called us candle makers in the age of electricity and said that like a lot of people, came up in magazines and now find that a lot of their profession is kind of like it doesn't exist anymore, right? Like there's no such thing as magazines anymore. There's no such thing as, a lot of the things that where we made money. And so it was basically saying that we're like a lost generation, which we get a lot of bad rap, Gen X. And this made me mad because it didn't feel true. And it felt, there was a little bit of truth, I guess, in some of it. Like, yes, there aren't magazines anymore that, we are struggling, but we're also incredibly resilient as a generation and have been through many shifts. We're the first
Mhm.
generation that was analog and then went to digital. We survived the dot-com boom. We survived a lot of things. And so I wrote an article, kind of a polemic, just yelling at the New York Times and saying this was not true, and and saying this is why our generation rocks. And it went viral. The first time I'd ever written something on Substack that went viral, which meant that it got like over like I don't remember like thousands of likes. It got a lot of
Mhm.
comments, a lot of comments, a lot of people sort of echoing what I said. Most people agreeing with what I said. It's nice when people agree and don't disagree. But anyway, it doesn't matter if they disagree because that's also something that you can get a lot of traction off of. But and then I was like, that's interesting. And then I wrote a sort of a follow up, like Revenge of Gen X or something like that. And that one also did a lot of traffic. And then I was like, well, this is kind of fun. I am Gen X. I'm interested in this stuff. I'm going to keep writing about stuff that has to do with my generation. So I think the next thing I wrote was like, what's the ultimate Gen X anthem? And I kind of like did a countdown or a sort of like almost a Final Four bracket challenge of like, okay, here are the top 12 songs, and I kind of narrowed it down to the number one anthem of Gen X. What do you think it is, by the way? I'm not. Maybe I shouldn't even tell anybody, but I basically like
We will
went through.
rock you. I don't know.
You are
I'm mad.
said by a millennial. Right now, I'm mad at you. I'm getting off the phone immediately. No, I mean, We Will Rock You is a pretty good one. I think that's probably more of a boomer.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But it's good. No, it's good. I mean, I think that one was popular when we were kids for sure, more like younger kids. No, I put Smells Like Teen Spirit because,
Oh, duh.
well, no, I mean, it's not that obvious, but it's like because it's sort of like crossed over between the sort of people that were kind of grew up in the 80s, like were teenagers in the 80s, like me, and the people that were teenagers in the 90s. And it's sort of, I felt like it was also obviously the song and the message of the song and Kurt Cobain and all that stuff seemed very resonant, resonated a lot with Gen X. So anyway, very long answer to your question is that I accidentally stumbled into this Gen X thing. And I do think that if you find something in Substack that you like reading about that is kind of specific, um, I think that's a good way to go because I was a generalist for a while, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being a generalist and writing about whatever's on your mind. But it didn't have as much traction as writing about one thing, but in more detail. And so that's kind of the direction I went. Now I've seen other people have said, oh, don't, you should just write about whatever you want to write about and don't let, parameters, keep you down. And I get that as a creative person, sometimes you want to be creative, but I also think creative people actually love parameters. I don't know if you do. I
Hmm.
love when people tell me what
Restraints
not to
are
do.
good. Yeah, yeah,
Restraints
yeah.
are good. Otherwise, I am all over the place. And so I have a restraint. I know it's not a restraint, but I know that for the most part, when I write my posts or when I do my Substack lives or when I do notes, they're going to be about my generation, something that I think would be interesting to my generation. So
I,
does that cut out a lot of people like millennials? Probably, but it's kind of where I'm at. And hey, I found you, and you're a millennial, and you
I'm a
like my stuff.
fan. Yeah, for sure. It also makes me reflect on like what's the millennial version of that, which I want to talk about the millennial anthem in just a second.
Oh, terrific. Oh,
But
yeah, I'd be curious about that.
John and I talked yesterday because I'm doing this series on publishing for the Bleeders, so stay tuned for that. But we sort of came to the conclusion of like you being a generalist was good to begin. Like
Yeah,
that's how you found your niche. So like it's
right.
okay
You
if you
can't
haven't
force
found it
it.
yet.
I
Yeah.
think you're so right because I think you might go on and say like, oh, all I want to do is write about writing because that's what I should do. I should only write about writing, and that's kind of what I did because I thought, well, that's kind of my brand. Like, I'm a writing teacher, I'm a writer,
Uh-huh.
and it just wasn't clicking for whatever reason. And I don't know why, but then I tried something else. In the spirit of being a generalist, where I didn't write about writing, I wrote about Gen X, and suddenly it's something stuck. I've written. I shouldn't say that I've only written about writing. I wrote about the house that I grew up in, which was haunted. I've written about a lot of things. I guess there wasn't really an audience for haunted house substacks,
You
but
could have
maybe
you could have gone hard in that
I
direction.
should have. You know me. I mean, I could go forever on haunted houses. But that just did that. It did okay, but I wouldn't say that I was going to change everything for that. I tried to write about anxiety. I've tried for a long time to write about anxiety in a way that I think would, because I think like pretty much everybody that I know has anxiety, but for whatever reason, it just never like took off in a way that I thought would. And so, who knew? But that there's a lesson there, I think, for everybody, including myself, that nobody knows anything, and until we kind of try a lot of things and throw a lot of stuff up at the wall, it's hard to know. And I'm still trying to figure out where this Gen X
Man.
thing is going to take me. I don't know. I
John's
mean,
DJing Gen X dance parties. It's taking him pretty far,
it's
actually.
gone in a weird direction that I did not expect. We're starting to do meetups. If anybody's interested in going to our meetups, you can leave your name in the comments, and I'll try to hook you up with our meetups. And I think people just like people of a similar age, and you should do it for millennials too. Just like to hang out with each other
Mm-hmm.
sometimes and kind of like swap stories. I think a lot of times, I don't know if it's so true with you, but I think a lot of times for older people like myself, we find ourselves surrounded by a lot of people that are younger than us, especially at work
Mm-hmm.
stuff, at work functions. And sometimes you kind of forget, like I'll make a reference, like I'll be like, oh yeah, that was like a Howard Jones song. And then everybody's like, what the fuck did he just say? And it's like anybody that's over 45 probably knows what I'm talking about. But if you're under a certain age, you're not going to know who that artist is. I get it. I mean, I think, do you know who Adam Ant is? I remember once saying Adam Ant in a meeting and everybody was like, I've never heard of Adam Ant. And to me, that's like
I
shocking.
know
That's like me
Michael
saying,
Mann.
it's like saying, to you, like saying, like, I've never heard of, I don't know, In Sync or something. I mean, it was just like unheard of that anybody that lived in the 80s has never heard of Adam Ant. He had like all the hit songs on MTV and stuff. But anyway, I get it. Like, if you're younger, that's not on your radar. So anyway, I like to do these meetups because it's nice to find people that can have like share a similar cultural, references with me.
Totally, totally. Okay, so millennial, I would like your input. Millennial anthem.
Yeah.
I'm
Ooh,
thinking maybe Britney, you said In Sync.
I know that's a
We
tough
have
one.
Beyonce.
You guys
And
have like so many good things. I love like Mr. Brightside. Like you have,
okay.
um, let's think, Wannabe.
You
I'm cheating a little bit.
if you're watching this, you can throw your what your millennial anthem would be in the chat.
I mean, yeah, it's a hard one, right? Because everybody, yeah, there must be some song that is so like definitive, like, because it has to cross over between like all the genres too. I feel like it's like, even if you were like a rock head, even if it's an R&B song, you kind of like that song or could identify that song. If you were an R&B head, then you kind of identify with this rock song. Um, that's a tough one. I mean,
That is.
Britney Spears is definitely an anthemic. Flow Rida.
Oh my
I mean,
God. Lil Jon.
Lil Jon. I mean, that
Hey.
kind of stuff. All the stuff from the early 2000s is so good. Like, um,
Self-esteem, so Greg said. What's that?
self-esteem. Self-esteem. What is that? I'd have to like look it up. Oh, I ain't got no like self-esteem. Well, no,
Oh,
I'm thinking of that's a song from yeah, what are they called? The band from Seattle. Or no, yeah. like Green Day type stuff.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I'd have to.
Green Day was like playing at my high school prom, when I was walking
Yeah,
out with my
definitely like Green
partner.
Day. Because all the stuff that you were
Time
growing
of
up
your
with
life.
was when
Yeah.
I was in my mid-20s. Yeah, so, like, all that stuff, that feels to me like Gen X music too, but there's a cutoff where it's like, I feel like 97, now suddenly it's, like, more millennial reaching, especially when we get into, like, the boy bands and stuff. Like, I have no connection, and you probably don't either, but I have no connection to that era at all, and
Really?
I know a lot of millennial women do, and I'm saying millennial women because I don't know a lot of millennial guys that do, but maybe some do.
Offspring?
They were yeah,
Offspring.
Offspring, yeah, no, that's self-esteem, yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, yeah, it's really interesting to like when the cutoff is, and it's interesting because when I talk about Gen X, I realize that like it's 15 years. So it's like people that were born from 1965 to 1980. So if you were born in 67, like I was, you might have different references than somebody that was born in 1980.
Mhm,
So I
mhm.
have to be mindful of my 1980 millennials because they're just like in their early 50s now. And so they're in a whole different place. In fact, I'm DJing a lot of their parties right now because they're all if you are turning 50, I am available to DJ your party. I've done a few big parties in LA here because I play the hits from the 80s and the 90s. That's my thing.
He is a good
Um,
DJ. I've been to several John parties
Thank you,
and
DJ
yeah,
Kid Finesse.
Kid Finesse knows how to
DJ Kid
spin a
Finesse. That's
track.
my name. That's my name.
Okay, so I wanna get your input. I have I have Podcast Bestie, I have the Bleeders for writers. Those are obviously, like, craft and publishing based or, like, they're about a certain skill set. And so I have this other so I don't really ever, like, write a personal essay on there unless it's about how I'm publishing my book or something, about related to craft or something. So I have this other Substack with almost 1,000 subscribers. I'm calling it Girl Gone Wild right now because that's the name of my book, and I just
Mhm.
wanna put the name of my book everywhere. But I'm curious to get your thoughts now. So we talked about your kind of rebrand. Like, what I wanna use it preparing for my book launch. Girl Gone Wild is coming out on April 1st. What should I write over there?
I mean, look, I think that you are so fascinating, and I don't know how much of this is public. I don't know how much of your personal life I
I'm
know of you
pretty
is
I'm pretty open.
okay. Is the fans thing open?
Oh, you guys, if you must know, I do have an OnlyFans. It's pretty tame. It's like
No, it's
Playboy
tame.
style. Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, like that's fascinating. Like that you do that,
Really?
what the experience. Are you kidding me? That is so interesting. I mean, guys, the thumbs up if that, or even women, like a thumbs up if that's interesting. Like you have an OnlyFans, you are, not the person, the kind of, I mean, you're obviously very attractive. I don't mean it that way, but not the kind of like, I think the kind of typical person that people would think would have an OnlyFans. Like you're really
Mhm.
smart and well read
Well,
and
those are bad stereotypes, but yes, I hear you.
do you know what I mean? Well, I
Yeah.
guess it's probably bad stereotypes that I have about OnlyFans. That's why it's so interesting to me that you're on OnlyFans because you wouldn't be the demo that I would think. Anyway, I'm excited that you're on there. I cannot bring myself to subscribe because it's too weird and it would be too creepy. But I'm sure you
Don't
do
do
it.
it under your real name.
Yeah,
Then I'll be
exactly.
like, "John."
No, it would be so creepy. But the thing is, you've told us some funny stories about that experience. I think people will be kind of behind the curtain. I just think whenever you talk about stuff from your sort of sexual past in an intelligent way, in a sort of curious way, I just find it endlessly fascinating, and a lot of people are kind of scared to talk about that stuff publicly, and you just have no filter there, which is really a gift. And you're a great writer, and it's just interesting. So the Girls Gone Wild kind of meet me. I would try a few. I would, say like what I learned. Honestly, if you wrote a thing like what I learned going on OnlyFans post, like I mean, it would get thousands of views. I think because I just think people would be very curious about that. I don't see posts like that a lot on Substack.
Yeah,
But I could be
maybe
wrong.
no, I think you're right. And maybe I'm also trying to like pitch or I haven't really started yet, but I'm gearing up to like, to promote your book. It's a good idea if you write a bunch of off the book
Yep.
essays. So I'll be writing a bunch of things sort of related to my book so I can, I guess, use my Substack as like,
Well, can you
if
give us a teaser of what your book is about? I know what it's about, but maybe tell the people who might not know.
I'm so proud of my book. It's in the
I'm
other
so
room.
proud of you for doing. You don't understand how hard Courtney has worked to make this book happen, and now it's happening. And she's so. I'm just so. I'm really thrilled for you. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, I what is it about? It is about making a lot of mistakes. It's about trying to make it in Hollywood as a woman. It is about growing up in a small town and like yearning for the big city and like that kind of life. And it is about me coming of age and like my kind of unwitting feminist coming of age
Mhm.
too, because all of these experiences happened. Not that I wouldn't have called, I mean, I don't know if I would have claimed that word in high school. It wasn't like a word I was trying to reject, but I wasn't like, I'm a strident feminine, I
Right.
was, but having an abortion, being raped, going on a Girls Gone Wild tour,
I mean,
like,
I think you should do excerpts on your Substack from some of your chapters and just
oh,
say that I mean, maybe like short excerpts and just say this, for more of this, go to my Substack.
yeah.
And you're
Okay.
nodding. It's making a funny noise. Okay. It was making a funny
Oh,
noise.
was it? It's maybe
Oh, it's
my
probably rubbing against
headphones.
your thing.
Yeah.
I would definitely do that. And I would then do spin-offs of like themes that you have or that you mine in your Girls Gone Wild for sure. Like you have all these like kind of prompts through your
Hmm.
book that you can write about. I would also write about topical things that are like
Hmm.
happening in the culture now. Like sort of position yourself if you're comfortable with being like an expert in like talking about sexuality, feminism, and the in this at this time, and um, all the different topics and themes that you talk about in your book. You could mine. I have found that when I write about things that are based on like the news of the day, that those tend to do really well.
Really?
Yeah, I tend to. This is a this is probably not a great thing to share, but like people love to be outraged by things. I mean, whenever I write things about that I'm outraged by, like and I'm genuinely outraged. I'm not like manufacturing outrage like Charlie Kirk or people like that. But like, no offense, Charlie Kirk, but
R.I.P.
rest in peace. But I think there's a lot of people that kind of do the whole internet thing where all they do is they just sort of they kind of they cash in on outrage, and I don't love that. But I think that if something makes you mad or you want to respond to something that's happening in the news, you don't think somebody's being treated fairly, or you just think there's a double standard being applied, you should definitely call it out and write an essay about it because I think people generally are thinking about the same thing and they want a place to think about that and have a forum to like respond. So when I wrote that response to the New York Times piece, obviously I was not alone in my frustration of reading that story. And the New York Times is big enough that and especially a lot of Substack readers who I think are generally pretty well educated and read
Hmm.
a lot of the legacy liberal press, had read that article and were like, it pissed me off. And it was amazing because it was written by a Gen Xer. It's like a total turncoat. He This guy probably hates me because I was like I've kind of publicly
Do you know his
ridiculed.
name?
No, I don't know it off the top of my head. I could look it
Okay.
up right now. We could say it out now, right now, and say if you're watching, he's probably like, God, that's small again. He won't let it go. And then this other woman recently wrote another terrible screed about Gen X, and she was also Gen X about how like we can't handle not being CEOs and that we're such babies and all this stuff. And I just don't agree with that stuff. It's not that I want to be a rebel rouser, but it's just like people say this. And again, she was maybe doing what I'm telling people does well, like start having contradictory opinions about like things or things that are going to be cause a little bit of argument.
You
If
owe
you,
her a gift.
I do. Thank goodness she wrote that article because then I could come back and be like, but I did write her and then I copied my story on her Twitter and I saw that she deleted my tweet. So I think she's kind of a well-known person. What is her name? And I felt like we should know each other, but
What if it was Taffy? Wouldn't that be hilarious?
if it was Taffy, that would not be good because she's too much of a friend. Taffy Brodesser-Akner, who we've talked about publicly before. Oh yeah, this story was called "Don't Be a Loser, Gen X Baby." I mean, just that title alone, you know. And it was written by Elizabeth either Spears or Spires.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
her work.
everybody
I'm
loves
so
Elizabeth Spires. She's very well known, and I think she used to edit like, she was part of that whole like Jezebel world and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
those blogs and that era. She actually knew Taffy because she used to work for Media Bistro as like an assistant. All these people kind of went on to become big stars. Yeah, but she did not get a lot of positive response to that story, but she might have wanted it that way.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to zoom out and I want to give two
Shout out.
potential lessons for, because there's a lot of writers on Substack. And so just a couple things that from our conversation, I was like, oh, this is good to share. So you responded to a New York Times article that was like going viral.
Mm-hmm.
When I wrote a thing for Business Insider, and it was in response. Remember that article the New York Times put out, and it was like about older people that wish they were grandkids or wish they were grandparents, but their kids won't have kids.
Yeah, yeah,
Do you
yeah.
remember this?
I
It
do
went
remember this. Yeah,
viral, and people were like, "You don't get to fucking pick." Like it's not,
yeah.
like people were.
People get pissed. I know.
Yeah, so I wrote a piece for Business Insider that was like, I actually kind of like one of my main reasons for wanting to have kids is for my parents. So I was
Hmm.
like responding to that article, and it actually, like, Business Insider syndicated it. It
Wow.
was in German. I got messages
Oh
from
my
more
God.
people than usual. So I feel like if there is a New York Times piece that's going viral that like you have a take on, like that's great. Write your own response.
Write
Like
your
that's
response. I think that's a really good way in. It's kind of you're already kind of it makes sense. You're already kind of trading in on the popularity of another article, and then you're just adding to it. And it's like all these things are like good ideas. Like I wouldn't wake up in the morning and be like, "What article can I yell at today?" You know, I would. Although I mean, I think some people do that. Like they literally like their whole sort of MO is like, what can I
rage
get mad
bait.
about?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rage bait. And I think it works very well with politics because there's always something in
Yeah.
politics to get mad about. And everybody always wants to talk about politics. I do that personally with politics, but I don't do it publicly. Like I'm not in that game and I don't want to be in that game. I think it's like would be not very pleasant to be alive. But Gen X is a little harder to find things. There's only every so often that like an article will come out that will actually go viral. That's about our generation. But like if a movie comes out that's very much about Gen X, then I'll write about that. Or if there's or if somebody dies who made a lot of impact on our generation, I'll write about that. Or I found that I'm trying all sorts of things. I have not figured out this formula yet. I also do
You're
things
doing
like
pretty good.
thanks. Well, I try, and sometimes like today I wrote about something about ageism, which is
Uh-huh.
doing okay. I thought it would do maybe a little bit better. I wasn't, because I think it's real. Ageism is real. Maybe I based it on like a story in the news of somebody clearly facing ageism, it might have done a little bit better. I mean, it's too early to tell, but I can tell it's not like going to go viral. Like it's just going to do okay.
I also think that's like a topic you could revisit
Yes, it's
in
not
a
the
bunch
first.
of different ways. And like, I do think it probably resonates with your audience, even if I read your piece. And it was great.
Thanks.
Even if, that version of it, sometimes it's like, do the kaleidoscope and like, okay, let's.
Yeah, I think, and it's always like, well, where do you go with it? I basically wrote about how I think ageism is real and how I've experienced it. And then I wrote about why I think it's not, the right way to deal with people. And I even admitted that I was ageist when I was in a position of hiring people, because it's talking about ageism in the workplace. And, I will admit that when I was in my 30s and I was in that position of hiring editors and stuff, I was incredibly ageist and, would see resumes. And if there was a certain date on there, I'd be like, oh, I can't hire this person. And that's terrible. Now that I think back on it, I'm like, what an asshole I was. But I wanted to be honest about that and realize, that I had made a mistake and that, not everybody is right for every job. And there are certain jobs that would be better suited for a younger person. But I just think by like sort of writing off an entire generation of people because they were born before, 1980 is insane. So,
It is insane.
so that's kind of where I was going with it. But you're right. There's so many different, I think ageism is a thing that I'll mine. I think, people do love nostalgia. People love to hear about, what are the funniest movies that came out of the 80s, or 90s, I'm going to do a interview on Friday with a guy who's a horror movie expert. And we're going to talk about the 10 best Halloween or the 10 best scary movies from that era, like Friday the 13th and Halloween and all those kinds of movies. So like, I just love to do stuff like that. And again, I don't know if people are more interested in reading about that or they're more interested in reading about how do I survive. I'm not making any money. I don't have my 401k has like no money in it. What the hell am I supposed to do at this stage of my life? Those kinds of stories too, more service oriented. We call them service stories. And so I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, I will write about both those things. and happily, but it's just interesting for me to, and so that's why I'm just testing a lot of things. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, what kind of do people more want to read about? And because it's not that I just want to, like, my whole goal is to get more subscribers. I do want to write about what I'm interested in about it and what I think will make an impact. But I feel like, again, as a creative person, I want to have some parameters because I could, Generation X is a lot. There's a lot of freaking things I could write about.
I
So
think
I,
keep throwing spaghetti at, like, you're
yeah,
doing a
I
really
like
good
the
job.
spaghetti.
Um,
It's, yeah, thank you.
oh, you go. Do you have one more thing?
The other important thing that I don't think people maybe understand is notes are really important. A lot of my subscribers come through my notes. I mean, I spend a lot of time on my posts, and that's great. And but I only do one or two a week. Maybe if I'm lucky, I do two. But my notes, which are much easier because it's just basically like the Instagram of Substack,
Mhm.
are short and sweet. And yet sometimes I'll put up a note, like just a video or something, or like a quick thought, and I will get, like, as a result of that, like 100 subscribers. Well, like, so I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
why did I put in all this effort on the damn story when I can write 3 words? I don't know. It's just sometimes it's interesting in that way. Again, I don't know how sticky those subscribers are. I feel like the
Uh-huh.
people who subscribe to your posts are generally, like, I think, really interested in, like, the subject matter that you're talking about. If they
Mhm.
would take the time to read your post, people who read a note, they might see a funny video and be like, I'm going to subscribe to this person. And then, like, the next time they're like, oh, I don't like this person's stuff at all, whatever. um, so I don't know. I don't know how, again, I don't know, like, the quality of the subscriber in terms of, like, stickiness, but it is nice. I have noticed that I've gotten a lot of subscribers through my notes.
That is a good tip. Another thing that you have been doing that inspired this directly, is I see you crushing it on Substack Live. Sometimes I tune into the replays.
You're crushing it right now. 41 listeners, and you barely did any publicity for this.
Is
This is
that
good.
good?
I think so. I think the most I ever had was it was a lot because that was talking to somebody who had I was talking to somebody from a website that had like, it was Jane Pratt, and she already had, like,
Oh.
her, she promoted her own thing. So it's like, oh, she's bringing all over her
Mhm.
listeners. But anyway, 41 for very little publicity, 42 now is pretty good. So anyway, you're crushing it.
Thank you for joining us, everyone watching at
Yeah.
home. Yeah, no, I'm obviously a big podcaster. I'm, like, addicted. I have 3
You do.
podcasts, so I'll probably
You're a
start
good
another one
podcaster.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, but I've been seeing all the different conversations that you've been doing on Substack Live, and I'm like, "Oh, maybe not every conversation needs to be a podcast. Maybe everything doesn't have to be perfectly edited. Like,
No.
maybe I can just get on here, and this could be part of my strategy for Girl Gone Wild and rebooting that Substack, is just like, what conversations do I wanna have with other Substackers that I admire, and, like,
Yeah.
go
I
from
think
there.
I think that's really smart. And the one thing I haven't done and I should do more is having the conversation specifically with Substackers, because I think when you go out of the Substack universe, you don't get as many people watching because, they don't have an audience, you're not bringing in your audience
Mhm.
from Substack. So, I mean, with the exception of maybe if I had, like, a celebrity, I could probably get a lot of people to watch. But that's an exception. So yeah, so I've been going after Substackers. It's a great way to meet. It's a great way to draw people into your universe that might normally not have discovered you. I mean, you're competing against a lot of eyeballs in Substack, and this is just another platform that they give you to kind of publicize your work and to just kind of go out there and do and, like, put your message out there. I like it. To me, it is a podcast, but it's just live and there's people watching. One of the things, it's kind of lonely doing a podcast, and you and I love podcasts equally, if not, I mean, I think we are like podcast fanatics. So I miss doing my podcast, but at the same time, I kind of like that there's 42 people doing this conversation with me.
Yeah.
And Substack has to improve this technology. If anybody from Substack is watching, it's like, you can only do it right now on a cell phone, which is
It's
insane.
crazy.
I've got this
That's
great.
totally crazy.
I mean, I've got this great equipment. You look at this mic. I can't even use this damn mic because I'm on a
I
cell
would be
phone.
using this mic
I
for
know it's a
sure.
great mic. Our mics, and I have this incredible equipment. So I have found a way to do Substack lives through the computer, through your laptop. Through your desktop, but it's confusing and not intuitive and not easy. And so I do them every Friday if you're interested in tuning in. It's still a work in progress. And sometimes it'll sound great, and other times I'll get this note like, I can't hear you. And I'm like, oh God, it's a nightmare. Like, I'm like, it's not the quality isn't good. Right. So this,
Sharita Sharissa agrees with us. She says it's horrid.
It's
Sorry if
horrid.
I mispronounced that, but yes, it is horrid.
It's really bad.
Can I give you and you troubleshoot this. Like maybe I'm wrong because this is my first Substack Live, but here's my, me, my like ecosystem kind of thinking with the Substack Live. If I were you, I would download all your archive of Substack Lives. Now you've got dozens of them, right?
Yeah.
And you've got a small talk or you've got a right about now YouTube.
I'm right ahead of you.
You.
I think I'm ahead of you.
Oh, you are?
And by the way, you said it right, Courtney. Thanks
Perfect.
for me. Well, no, I shouldn't have finished your thought. But I want to hear, but I want to hear what you want to finish.
I think, and what I've been telling my students, because I've been using you as an example, what I've been telling my students is like, great, especially if you're worried about, if you want to start a podcast, but you are worried about the tech or whatever, I'm like, do a Substack Live. You can repurpose it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And optimize, that YouTube's great for discoverability. It's like such a good companion to podcasts.
By the way, Substack automatically uploads you to YouTube. So you don't even, you connect it so it goes right to YouTube. You don't even have to do anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, you would have to go into your portal and rewrite
them.
You have to connect them, but you can go into your portal and, obviously and change the title or whatever, because it'll just kind of come up as the title that you typed into Substack. But I noticed that. I was like, whoa, I don't remember uploading this to YouTube. Oh, that's because Substack did it for me. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Amazing. So it's not even my genius idea. It's Substack.
Substack knows that Substack wants to get you. They want to get their platform out there in the world and people to know about it. So yes, they'll say like, it'll be like Substack Live video and it comes out as on your YouTube. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I doctor it a little bit because I like to change the thumbnail but it's up there. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And again, there's a way to do it on your laptop. So it's not as crappy, but, so anyway, to go back to I'm all about repurposing content because we're only one, we're only one person. We don't have a team of editors like we did in the old days. And the idea of like having to create all this content, and it's like, it's crazy. People ingest content in different places on Instagram, on TikTok, and it's totally fine to repurpose. And so what I'm going to do is I have to show you my podcast art. I might have passed it around to you. I can't remember if I asked for your opinion.
I don't think I've seen it yet.
So I have a small talk podcast that I'm starting, and I am going to jigger all these podcasts that I record on Sub and put them on my small talk podcast.
Perfect.
Now, it's not going to have any traffic at first because nobody's ever heard of small talk podcast. And, Right About Now, which is my previous podcast, did have,
Are you sunsetting Right About Now?
I think so. Is that sad?
Well, you got to recycle your feed.
Yeah, I'll recycle my feed. That I will do. You're right.
Okay.
That would be crazy because I record 400 episodes of that.
And you built the audience. People know to tune in.
They know to tune in, and I've been really bad but I just got a little tired of Right About Now, and I got really more excited about Substack Live and Small Talk. And so anyway, I rebooted. I came out with a really funny podcast art that looks kind of like a cross between it's a picture of me from 1983, which is pretty funny, and then it has the writing of like
that was the year I was born.
It has like flash. Oh God. It had the flash dance. It has a flash dance kind of font, and it kind of is a real kind of nod to the 80s. But yeah, so I love that idea. You think that I should put it though on the Right About Now feed? See, I don't want to do that because I feel like it's different audiences. But
no, who cares if they don't want to tune in? See, this is the whole thing. It just tipped over on a computer. Right. That would never happen.
Right. Exactly. Right. And I can't. This. Yeah. I'm like. Everything's going wrong. No, it's fine.
Okay, I just want to give you like some examples. First of all, search engine. Do you listen to that podcast?
No, what is that?
It's PJ Vogt.
Yeah, PJ Vogt. What does he do? Does he do
VOGT?
Yes, I definitely get like tech emails from him. Like I know that name. Does he do what else? He does other things.
He used to be on Reply All.
Okay, that was it. Right? Yeah, Reply All. Right.
And that was a huge podcast. And then I think they had a big falling out. And then they went their separate ways. So now he has his first project after that was Crypto Island or something. Started that on the feed. It was a limited series. We know limited series now. That's that's hard because then what are you going to do? So they
Yeah,
took that same feed, they left the things with the crypto island things with the old logo on there, and then they just switched the logo and they rebranded and they kept their feed. It's just, you know how hard it is to get up to
so you
thousands
just
of
so you just put
listeners.
you just put a new logo on the Right About Now feed, and you just start doing small talk. That's
Yeah.
smart.
And
Yeah.
if you want to differentiate, just make sure your old logo is on the old episodes, and then it'll be really clear,
Okay. How
you
do you even
know.
do that? Anyway, we shouldn't probably explain how to do that.
We'll do that on a separate.
Okay, on a separate thing. Sorry, everybody. We're like, well, this is like normally. This is
Really
like
good.
actually our conversation. This is
Yeah.
like you actually like this is like a conversation that we would have like normally without the 42 people watching. Well, but anyway, that's good. That's why it's real. Substack Live is real.
Yeah.
This is how we actually talk to each other. But no, I mean that's what's wonderful about like a community like Substack is like you help each other out. Everybody like I'm not competitive with anybody on there. Like I want people to do well. If they do well, they can help me do well.
Mhm.
I want you to do well. We can help each other out. The other thing that I heard today from our friend Anna David, and she heard it from Richard Rushfield, is that you have to really use the recommended that feature where the recommended feature where like if somebody
You recommend
recommends you,
each
you
other?
recommend each other. That's very helpful for
Uh-huh.
discoverability.
Especially if
Um,
you have share themes or
yep.
topics or
Yeah.
whatever you write about. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. So I think that's something. Yeah, that's really key. One of the mistakes I think I might have made when Right About Now is, if I look back, is that I sometimes had a lot of people on that just had no ability to help me whatsoever in terms of getting. They were interesting guests, but they didn't. We had no overlap in terms of our. We were writers, but we didn't really have any overlap in terms of our area of expertise. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, I sort of realized like maybe I spent a lot of time spinning my wheels just looking for always the best guest rather than maybe the best guest for, actually getting my podcast some eyeballs. I've always been so bad at the marketing part of podcasting. And part of that is probably because I'm Gen X and we just are, I don't know, maybe not so much your generation.
Losers? You guys are
Yeah,
losers?
yeah, we're losers. Just as Elizabeth Spears said, Spires, we are losers because why don't you kill me? No, because we are uncomfortable doing a lot of promoting ourselves. It's just like part of our DNA is said that that's being braggadocious and that's being like really super egotistical. And so unlike, Gen Z, millennials sort of in the middle there, but like Gen Z, like my daughter is like online all day and like doing videos of herself. And like, that's not weird and that's not like egotistical. But for me, that feels very uncomfortable. And even my friends are like, wow, John, you do a lot of it. I went to my high school reunion recently and everybody was like, wow, you're really online. I was like, is that good or bad? Like people think I'm just like a fucking egomaniac. I realize that none of my friends do what I do in terms of like making videos and putting their face on the
Oh, I'm
internet.
sure they think you're cool.
I hope so.
You did
I
a
try to be
perfect
cool.
transition because what I want to talk about next is, yeah, millennials. Give me the Gen X archetype, and then let's define the versus the millennial archetype. Like you said,
Yeah.
you guys are like analog. You guys are like you had a whole Slacker thing.
Right.
Like, what's the
Millennials are hard.
identity?
Millennials are like a little bit like participation trophies, very like hyper or like you have all these things like Slack and all these like organization tools, like you're very like hyper like organized, like you have all these kind of like apps and stuff. You're like a generation of apps. Like you love app. You love yourself a good app.
Because we came of it, we got the internet. I mean, we had computers and stuff when I was in elementary school, so like I always knew of computers. But then, in like sixth grade, they were showing us the internet, and so I feel like we are
You're the
that
first generation.
that was
Yeah,
like
that
totally.
you were
We grew up
totally in
online.
the internet. You grew up online. We did not. So you have a much more of a kind of comfortability online. Um, I at first I didn't like millennials, and that was when I was younger, because a lot of them worked. Like a lot of them worked for me, and I was like, oh, they don't have they have a different work ethic. But then I just realized that you just like think about things differently, and you do work a little bit differently. Like I
Like
remember
what?
I remember being in a meeting once, and like everybody looking down at their phones, and I was kind of like, what the fuck? Like pay attention to me. But like a lot of you guys were taking, or you guys, a lot of, they were taking notes or maybe they were checking the internet. Like it wasn't like they were zoning out on me. And I felt like it felt like disrespectful. And then I realized that
Mhm.
actually, I don't think exactly what was going on. And I said to one woman after, I was like, I didn't really love you having your phone out. And she was so surprised. She was like, I was listening. Like she couldn't believe that like I would even call her out on that. Um, it's not a very confrontational, for better or worse, but you guys do where I think you guys are, we could learn from you guys, and there's a lot of things we could learn from each other. But is that you guys are good about like work life balance, and like even though you get kind of made fun of that stuff, like quiet quitting and all that stuff, you are definitely like you like make a distinction between like that it's important to have like a life. And like when I
Mhm.
was a kid, and when I was not even a kid, but when I was a young adult, and we would work ridiculous hours. We wouldn't always get overtime. Oftentimes in magazine world, I would come in on the weekends a lot to work. I wasn't getting paid overtime. I wasn't even getting paid anything extra for being there. It was just like
They
part
were
of what
barely
you.
paying you to begin with.
Yes, I mean to begin with, I mean we would work when a magazine was closing. We would always work on the weekends in the office, and it was just like that was just the way it was done. There was no pushback, and I feel like your generation has been better about like setting those boundaries. You probably invented the word boundaries, at least in that context. I feel like it's the first time I started hearing it. So I do respect that because I think that we could sometimes be better at that, or could have been better at that when we were younger. And now
We
Gen
also
Z, but I sometimes blur Gen Z and millennials a little bit because my kids are Gen Z, so
Mhm.
I'm like trying to like they have a whole other set of like priorities. But you guys, so I don't know, what would you say are your kind of good and
Well,
bad
I think
attributes?
we're like Obama is
Yeah.
kind of like a defining politician for
Well,
our
that's cool because we
generation.
have freaking Reagan. So yeah, that's pretty good.
But
Yeah. I mean,
Reagan,
Obama's Gen X, but millennials identify with him. He was your president.
because
So
he was our
yeah.
president. Yeah, and we played a huge part in getting him
Yeah.
elected,
Yeah. I
right?
mean, I guess we could say that Bill Clinton is sort of our president, as a Gen X president. But look at that. Like
He's
Bill
pretty
Clinton,
cool aside
he's
from the
cool, but the
Epstein
Monica
stuff.
Lewinsky and the Epstein stuff isn't great, and he's very flawed. And I guess they are. It's hard to find a lot of flaws in Obama. I mean, except for the fact that he doesn't seem to be fighting back too much on the whole what's going on now
I
in the
think he's
country.
trying
But
to be strategic.
yeah, I hope so. But I mean, I loved Obama, and I certainly respect him tremendously. And yeah, so if he's your guy, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, '90s. And by the way, you grew up in an incredible. I mean, the '90s just culturally,
Uh-huh.
like music wise, and like
It was a
movie
great
wise,
decade.
it was a great decade. I mean, you don't really know it until it's past, but it was really a special decade. And I think, and I love that we share it too. It's just
Uh-huh.
different times in our lives, but we have the same references. Like if I make a '90s reference, you're going to get that. You're not going to
For
get my
sure.
stupid '80s references.
Well,
Um,
maybe some of them, because when you said the anthem, I was like, oh yeah, I feel like, I mean, obviously it was a
well,
little
Nirvana.
older, but
Yeah.
Nirvana, like
That's why
I
I picked
also
it.
had Nirvana,
Yeah,
you know.
that's why I picked Nirvana because they're kind of like a crossover. They're a band that kind of crosses over between like millennials and Gen Z and Gen X. Um, but yeah, I like I said, like a lot of people in my generation, they were born in 1980. When were you born? 83. So
'83.
you're almost Gen Sec.
I'm like
You're
an
a
elder
Gen you're an
millennial.
elder millennial. You don't remind me a lot of the millennials that I meet that I don't like.
Oh,
um,
well, thank you, I guess.
you're a good millennial. No, that's mean. No, but you don't have a lot of those traits of kind of like standoffishness or I think the generations. What's interesting is that millennials and Gen Z really doesn't like millennials, and I don't really understand why. I'd love to have my daughter come on and explain why.
I think honestly they're intimidated by us.
Really, is that
I
it?
I think
It could be.
aside from the hair parts and the jeans, like we got it all figured out. And I don't know.
Maybe they don't think you're giving the jobs up that they want. I don't know. That's what Gen X thinks about boomers. But
Which that's true.
why would you give up the jobs? It's hard enough to find a freaking job.
No, totally, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, you say the phone thing, and you were like, she was on her phone in the meeting. It's so
Yeah.
funny because we are a generation that like I was interviewing with someone and we were having tech issues, and the person kept being like, call me, and they would give me their phone number.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I don't
I
call.
would rather fucking kill myself right now than call you. I'm gonna
Right.
email you the response. So like,
Well,
I
isn't
didn't
it
say all that, but
you?
that's the vibe.
Isn't the I always got the impression Gen Xers email, millennials text,
Uh huh.
and then Gen Z, you know, does like what do you call it? Uh, what's the not TikTok, but what's the one that where they all check in with each other?
Oh, Snapchat.
Snap. They snap, and so it's just funny how like the different. Like it would be for me to get a millennial on the phone to actually talk to me on the phone. I can't even imagine. I think you and I have talked on the phone maybe twice in our entire lives. Have I ever talked to you on the phone ever?
I
I think
don't know.
yesterday we might have talked
Emergency only. Yeah.
emergency only. But a Gen Xer is totally happy talking on the phone because that's kind of how we grew up. And we used to spend all like that used to be our lives being on the phone with our friends after school at night after we did homework is just talking with your phone friends. And my daughter still does that. She just does it on FaceTime and Snapchat or whatever she uses. Um, so what do you do? Like, do you talk on the phone? Like, do you?
Hell no. I did some of that when I was growing up, just because to flirt with because cell phones were like more high school. So like in middle school, we'd be on the phone, talk, but that was it. After I was done
Can
with
I?
being a horny middle schooler, I was like, I'm done with
You're
the
done with the
phone.
phone? Yeah, the phone was where it was at. I mean, and then we didn't even have freaking cell phones, so that was ridiculous. And sometimes our phones, we shared the phone with our parents. So if they
Yep.
were getting if somebody was trying to call them and we were on the phone, you would get what's called a busy signal. Do you guys even know what that sounds like? And then there was this thing they invented called emergency breakthrough, where you could call the operator and be like, if you kept getting a busy signal, and the operator would call the person and say, "I have an emergency breakthrough," and you could get through. And my
Oh.
friends used to do that. That used to really piss my parents off because they would be like on the phone, and then they would get an emergency breakthrough from a friend that wanted to talk to me. I mean, that was really bad.
And back
Um,
in the day, you had to like worry about if you were calling long distance.
oh
Now
yeah,
you
that was.
just,
I still think about that. I'm like, but if I call Europe, it'll be so expensive. I'm like, there's this thing called WhatsApp. Yeah. I mean, thank goodness because my son is in Europe, so I talk to him a lot. No, there was a lot of, I think we always are very nostalgic for the times past. I just put a video up on my Substack notes page of a woman about your age, probably a little bit younger than you, talking about how she wishes that she grew up in the 70s because
Mhm.
that was the time when like food was so clean and like, and like you didn't have to worry about like looking at yourself and like how many likes you had on Instagram. She has all these like things. And it was such a funny way to look at our generation because it was, I mean, I'd love to think that that was all true. And sometimes we look back on the time and it seems much simpler, but honestly, we were miserable too. And by the way, food was not freaking healthy in the 70s. It
I
was
know, that's so
disgusting.
funny.
It was
Yeah.
chemically, yeah, it was terrible.
Like
Probably more healthy
the
now.
crime was
Crime was,
worse.
I mean, New York was like a cesspool. I mean, it was a terrible time in a lot of ways. I mean, the people had to dress like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever. I mean, can you imagine? I mean,
That's so
I was
funny.
just a kid in the 70s, but it was not yeah. So she's funny. I think people always look back on the times earlier as being like really fabulous.
Greg says no one likes the generation before them. And
Yeah.
Sharissa says, I love Gen X, but they were given a lousy hand from boomers and older. I have
Thank
such a
you.
hard time.
Thank you. I love you. You're
Thank you
so
for
right.
validating John.
Thank you for validating all my concerns.
I have such a hard time self-labeling as millennial because the younger ones are so not my vibe.
Oh,
Our
wow.
gen had the lie of do the right thing and you'll get all these things. I think that is the thing with millennials is like, and your generation had this to some extent, but you guys got a better hand in this way, I think, is like, yeah, if you're a millennial and you want to like buy a house or
Oh,
like
God. Yeah. It's a
afford to have
nightmare.
a child or something like that, it's like,
We
that's,
just got in there. And I mean, I thankfully have a house, but it was I mean, the way I got this house is like a miracle. But I mean, and most millennials, I don't think will ever be able to buy a house. And that's horrible. And
Mhm.
it's probably somewhat our fault. I don't know. I have no idea how that all went down. It's a lot of different factors. But that I do feel bad for millennials. And again, millennials is another generation that are not going to make as much money as their parents. And I think we were the first generation in a long time to not have made as much money as our parents. Like I definitely did not make as much money as my dad made. I think it's safe to say now that my dad is going to have made more money. And my dad died young, and he made a hell of a lot more money than I did.
Really?
Yeah, and he was as a creative too. Um, and I just think it was a different time. Like I don't know. Like he I mean, I've always said my father was a film composer, which was a really cool thing to be, and he did music for movies. And he came up in the '60s when like people like to be young and to be like a Beatle, look like a Beatle was like the currency of Hollywood. And so he got a lot of jobs because he kind of like looked a certain way. He's also incredibly talented, but he kind of had a vibe, and people were really into like young artists at that time. And but again, there's a lot of luck involved. I wonder people coming up now, young writers, young artists, how do you get discovered? How does
Social
somebody,
media.
right? And if you're not that good at social media or you don't enjoy it,
You're
like my
fucked.
son,
You're
you're
fucked.
fucked. Fuck.
No, but your son is handsome. He should
Super
just
handsome.
he should just be like on TikTok lifting up his shirt.
He should be like you. You know how to flaunt it. Like you're not in it. Like you're attractive and you're not
Oh, please.
afraid, but you're not afraid to like be out there and like take pictures of yourself and like, and I think it's good, but he doesn't come naturally to him. It's not comfortable for him. So he is handsome and, and he's a musician and he's got all the things going on. 6'4", handsome musician. His name is Elijah Small, by the way, for those wondering.
He's got some songs out. Yeah.
He's got a lot of songs out, but I'm not saying he's not. I mean, he's had success for a 20-year-old, but he's only 20. But it's like, how is he going to break through? I think about it all the time. I mean, it's hard enough for me to break through, and I'm just an old bogey.
I mean, but some of the tools are like incredibly exciting. It's like,
yeah.
The thing is, my book is about trying to make it before our lives were like flattened by the internet in this way. And now it's like, you don't even maybe have to, you could just make your videos like back in Minnesota.
Yeah. You don't have to
you don't even have to leave. You can.
Right. So in that way, it seems like it's much more accessible, that kind of fame. And in the old days, you had to like get an agent and then you had to rent a recording studio. Yeah. You had gatekeepers. Definitely. There were much more gatekeepers, and just the price of admission to record and to like all that stuff that we take. I mean, the fact like doing this, like being able to put a public talk show out just in the universe without, I mean, this is free, right? I don't pay for Substack. Do I pay for Substack? I can't remember. I don't think so.
No,
it's free.
No, you get paid for Substack.
I get paid. So this is a free service. It's unimaginable in 1989 to have had like a free, unless you were like Wayne's World and you had one of those. I guess they had those shows on cable at like 3:00 in the morning that you could get on, and those were free public access. But yeah, this is so the possibilities are endless. But because there's so many new possibilities, it's a glut of content now, right? And it's very hard to weed through.
And with AI, it's going to get even worse.
I know.
But
although AI content is so crappy right now that I feel like it's almost like people just want to skip over it. Like it's not fun to watch. I mean, maybe that'll change at some point. But when I see something that's clearly made of AI, I'm not even interested in it. I mean, some of the stuff is funny, but it's like, I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. And I can't be alone in thinking that. I don't know. Oh no, don't tell me I might have to do this. I might have to plug in my phone and therefore unplug my batteries.
It's all good. We can wrap this whenever.
No, good. I'm just like this. This sound's going to be a little bit different.
But that sound is worse.
Is it bad?
Well, it's just, you said before we logged on, like the headphones really make a difference. They do really make a difference.
All right, I'm going to take a difference. My battery was a little bit low, but we'll do this. We can wrap when you want. But anyway, I got 10%. The live live broadcasting, right? It's like I've got 10% on my phone. This is another ridiculous thing. Substack, this is ridiculous.
We have some tech notes. We definitely have some tech notes.
We definitely have tech notes.
Yeah, I'm excited about all the things that you can do for yourself, especially like as I now try to do a new thing in launching my book. I love that we have all these different avenues. So I'm trying to keep an optimistic view on all of the tech stuff. But we got 46 people tuning in.
I think that's really good. I mean, I think that's better. Sometimes I don't get 46, and I advertise and I do all sorts of things. So you're onto something here, Courtney. And isn't it fun to do a podcast live? It's kind of like with an audience. It's like having a small audience in the. I just imagine all these people. And, it's fun. I have this soundboard that I use when I do my Substack live, so I can do all these sound effects and stuff. I do like applause, and I do. So sorry that I know I don't sound as good right now because I had to plug in my phone. But yeah. So anyway, I'll teach you how to do that because I'm excited that you've discovered Substack Live, and I think
Yeah.
your audience is probably excited about it too. What else can you tell us about your book? Because your book is coming out when?
It's coming out April 1st. Um,
April Fool's Day.
yeah, that was I was like, I can work with that. I'm sure there are a bunch of people that don't want their books to come out on April 1st. So hopefully it'll be like less of a busy day. We had to move it back a little because I'm a perfectionist. But anyway, no, I'm just excited about, I think I'm not a person that's like, thinks like marketing is this terrible thing. Like, I think it can actually be really creative.
Mhm.
And so I'm
You're
excited about,
That might be very millennial of you, by the way. I think that's a millennial characteristic.
is it?
Why are so many millennials in marketing? Every time I meet a millennial, I'm like, what do you do? I'm in marketing. You know,
Anyway, I love this live format. Thank you so much if you're one of the 46 people who tuned in live. We appreciate you. I want to do a little more interactive stuff next time. So if you have any thoughts on topics, if you're familiar with my work or John's work and you want to drop any topics in the chat, feel free. But just thank you, John, and thank you everyone
oh,
else
it's a
for helping
pleasure. I'm
me.
so glad for being your first. It's an honor to be your first Substack Live. And
A
if
public loss of virginity. Beautiful.
it it really is. You said that, not me. But I you're very good at this, and I think this is just a natural extension of kind of what you're so good at anyway. And I'm excited about this next chapter, this new book. There's so much going on for you right now. So
Well,
follow Courtney.
I can't wait to
And you're somebody
Margs.
who's
I'm going
always
to be in
reinventing
LA.
themselves. You are somebody that's always, coming up with new reinventions. I mean, people don't know this about Courtney. I'm going to brag about you for like, you did stand up. You do so many interesting, like you just challenge yourself to do a lot of things, like new things. Like I'm going to start a new thing. I'm going to do Substack Live. I'm going to do stand up. I'm going to teach. I'm like a lot of people are kind of scared to get out of their comfort zone. And you are definitely not one of those people. And you've been very inspiring to me in that way because, I get kind of stuck in my ways too. I don't know if I'm ready to do stand up. Although even watching you do
I think
stand
it
up, I
would
was
be
like, this
great.
would be fun to try. I mean, I think it'd be terrifying, and I don't think I could stand the rejection of it or the kind of people not laughing would be really hard for me. But what
I
do you call
actually have a
bombing?
show.
Bombing would be hard.
Bombing is actually, it feels great because you're like, oh, I'm the biggest piece of shit I could possibly be right now, and still it's okay.
Wow.
Awesome.
Okay. That's true. It's almost like exposure therapy. You have to go
Yes.
through it to realize that
Yes.
it's not that bad. Yeah.
I am. So I have a stand-up show in Pasadena on November 20th. So if you are based in LA, you can come out to that. And John, I will be in LA in just a mere
I'm
week
excited to
or
see you.
so,
And
and
I'm
we can do Margs
doing
offline.
Margs. We love our Margs offline. Maybe we should do a Margs live
Check in.
Substack though,
Yeah.
because I'm good on Margs. I'm much funnier on Margs. I tend to be much more insightful, but
You're
also
pretty good
probably
sober.
probably probably pretty embarrassing on Margs too. But yeah, so but that'll be really great. And I'll bring you onto my Substack Live soon too, because I don't think you've been on my Substack Live,
No,
have you? No,
no,
maybe we'll
I'm
talk about like
excited.
Confessions of a Millennial,
Yes.
or something like that. I don't know. You're more interesting than that, but we'll figure it out.
Thank
And thank
you,
you so much to your 48, Sharisa, who has been commenting. You're lovely, and thank you for commenting, and everybody else.
Greg. Yeah.
And Greg. It's really fun to get to connect with everybody. And so, by the way, shameless self promotion. I'm at Small Talk if anybody's looking for my Substack. And we're all on Courtney's here, so tell
I
your
have
friends,
Podcast
telephone.
Bestie. I have The Bleeders. I have something that will be rebranded soon. Right now it's called Girl Gone Wild. So check us out on our regular Substacks. And thank you guys. Thank
All
you so
right,
much. See you
peace.
later.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, we're almost at 50. Oh, you're so close. 49. All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
And